Welcome to the ESL Motivation Series. How to see in English. You may well be thinking that I'm really pushing the boundaries here by suggesting that there is a way to see in English. But in fact, this is more about the notion of redefining how the brain can work. There is not really that much research, as far as I know at this point, on whether our brain changes due to different linguistic styles. But there has got to be some common sense understanding that certain languages require a central mind bend. There is, of course, no correct bend. They're all different and rich with idiosyncrasies. But it just makes sense that if there's a change in bent, there must also be a change in how we view the world. I know there are people who will shoot me down and say that how we perceive the world is not linguistic, it's more cultural. But I would like to propose that there is definitely a border between the two that crosses over. If we speak in a certain language, there must be a style of how we view the world. This could be simply understood by saying that there are certain character traits associated with certain cultures. For example, Germans are real sticklers for time. Everybody's got to be on time. French are the romantics, and Italians and Spanish are very passionate people. At the same time, there will always be plenty of exceptions, of course, to the rule. But one thing will remain the same. When the person begins to speak their language, is there not a hint of that quality in how they perceive the world? Saying all that, we are back to the world view of English. This is where things get very complicated. Because if we're going to stick to the common BBC British English, we can perceive some kind of intellectual element. But English isn't so cut and dry these days. There are plenty of countries that speak English as their first language or fluent second language, and there is a mix of the Britishness in the perception, but with a local flavour. This definitely can be seen in places like the US, Canada, South Africa, New Zealand and Australia. However, even more profound is this flavour when we look at places like India, Singapore and Malaysia. To speak English today is in a non-English speaking country does have a perception to it. However, the perception is really more in line with the country of locality rather than the origin of the language. What new speakers of English have to do is to find in themselves how they perceive English speakers of their own nationalities and build their view from there. We will never be British just because we speak English, and we will never need to be. Understanding how to see in English is all about understanding your own culture and the English that sits in it. Feeling that will help you to see in English, which means looking in English but through your own cultural eyes. This is also what great teachers need to encourage and nurture.